So what does a great manager actually do? It's a question a lot of us have. Today, we're going to strip away all the jargon and build a simple, powerful framework so you can really understand the core principles of management.
You know that feeling, right? We've all been there, part of a team, a project, or a job, and just felt that deep frustration. We've all seen what good organizations and, well, bad organizations look like. That feeling, that simple question, is exactly where management begins. It's the search for a better way.
All right, so let's get a basic definition on the table. At its absolute core, management isn't about you doing everything yourself. A brilliant thinker, Mary Parker Follett, she nailed it. She defined it as the art of getting things done through the efforts of other people. So you see, it's way less about doing the work and way more about enabling others to get to that shared goal.
Okay, but that definition immediately brings up a classic question, one that gets debated all the time. If you're getting things done through other people, are you a manager or are you a leader? And are they even the same thing? It's a really important distinction, so let's tackle it right now.
Here's probably the simplest way to break it down. A manager? Well, a manager has subordinates, people who report to them in a formal structure. They manage things like systems, processes, and resources. A leader, on the other hand, has followers, people who are there by choice because they're inspired. A leader leads people.
Admiral Grace Hopper gave us the perfect, most memorable way to think about this. She said, you manage things, you lead people. And it's so true, right? You can't manage people into a dangerous situation. You have to lead them. You manage inventory and budgets, but you lead human beings. So if management is about execution, then leadership is really all about inspiration. The leadership expert Warren Bennis put it this way. It's the ability to see a future vision and then mobilize people to turn that vision into a reality.
And maybe the most challenging part of leadership is what Rosalind Carter pointed out. A truly great leader can take people beyond their comfort zones, push them toward a goal they might not have even known they needed to achieve. It's powerful stuff.
All right, so keeping that difference between managing and leading in mind, let's get super practical. What do managers actually do day to day? Well, there's a fantastic time-tested framework for this called POLC. Let's break it down.
POLC, it's pretty simple. It stands for planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. These are the 4 fundamental jobs of management. You can think of them as the 4 pillars that hold up any successful project or organization.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts with planning. This is the architect's phase. You're designing the blueprint. It means setting really clear goals and figuring out the best path to get there. It's all the strategic thinking that has to happen before anyone even starts working.
So, once you have that blueprint, you've got to organize. This is the engineer's phase. You're actually building the structure, putting the right people in the right jobs, and making sure all the resources are in place to make that plan happen.
Now with the structure built and the resources ready, it's time for leading. And this is the coach's phase. This brings us right back to what we were talking about earlier. This is the human element. It's inspiring action, motivating your team, and keeping that vision front and center every single day.
And finally, there's controlling. Think of this as the ongoing quality check. It's a really simple 3-step loop. First, you set a standard for what success looks like. Second, you measure your actual performance against that standard. And third, if there's a gap, you take action to get back on track. That's it. That controlling part is all about measuring performance. But what performance should a manager really be looking at? Because it's not just about what's written down in a job description. There are actually 2 different kinds of contributions that separate the good teams from the truly great ones. On one hand, you've got in-role performance. That's pretty straightforward. It's doing the main duties that are in your job description. But what often makes all the difference is extra-role performance. This is all the valuable stuff people do that isn't formally required of them, the extras. These extras actually have a name. They're called Organizational Citizenship Behaviors, or OCBs for short. Now, you can look at this chart and see a breakdown, but honestly, the real magic of OCBs is in all the small, voluntary things that create an amazing culture. You know, like helping a coworker who's totally swamped, or speaking positively about your team to others, or even taking the initiative on a new idea. It's the lifeblood of a healthy workplace, the kind of stuff that never shows up on a formal review, but really, it changes everything. Okay, so we've got the manager's framework, and we understand the different kinds of contributions from employees, especially those amazing extra-role behaviors. But how do all these pieces add up? How do we measure the success of the entire organization?
Well, it turns out the old school scorecard isn't really enough anymore.
This brings us to a concept called the triple bottom line. It's a much more modern way of looking at success. It argues that true success isn't just about profit. Instead, we should be measuring performance across three critical dimensions: economic, social, and environmental.
Now, economic performance, that's the one we all know. It's about generating profit for the shareholders. But social and environmental performance, which often gets bundled together as corporate social responsibility, or CSR, that looks at the organization's impact on its community, its employees, and, the planet.
So does this CSR stuff actually work in the real world? Let's look at two companies that both tried a big environmental strategy, The Body Shop and Starkist Tuna. One was a massive success, and the other one kind of failed. So why the difference?
The Body Shop completely crushed it. Why? Well, their entire mission was authentically and deeply tied to ecological sustainability. It wasn't a marketing ploy. Their customers believed the story, they connected with it, and they were willing to pay a little extra for products that aligned with their own values. The credibility was just there from day one.
Starkist, though, really struggled. When they introduced dolphin-safe tuna, they found that most shoppers just weren't willing to pay more for it. On top of that, the strategy was super easy for their competitors to copy. And the tuna industry's history made a lot of consumers skeptical. The store just didn't land with the same authentic punch.
And the difference between these two stories makes the key takeaway crystal clear. The most effective management today doesn't treat profit and purpose as two separate things. It finds the synergy. It links economic success directly to a social and environmental mission that feels authentic and credible to its customers.
So here's a final thought to take with you. We've covered the whole framework of management, but whether you're leading a huge company, a small team, or really just managing yourself and your own projects, think about tomorrow. Which one of these principles, planning, organizing, leading, or controlling, are you going to consciously use to make things just a little bit better?